All right, Affinity Photo. Can it replace Photoshop for you? And I would say for most of the time, yes. And here's why. When you're working with JPEGs, throw JPEG in there, you'll see that for the most part, your toolbars are very familiar. You'll see a lot of the same brushes, the marquee tool, paint bucket. They're almost, exactly the same as what you're going to find in Photoshop. You'll see some of the adjustments on the right. Some global adjustments like levels, where you can mess around with the black levels and the white levels and all that. You can mess with the white balance, make some pretty quick and easy adjustments. We're not working on a raw file, so we're not working on the temperatures or anything like that, but it's just because it's a JPEG. But for the most part, a student or a person that's working on a single photo is going to be able to use Affinity Photo for most of their needs. We could even take out, like the light switch on the wall there. You can just go to your clone stamp tool. You hold down Command and Alt just like you would in Photoshop, and you erase. Oops, I'm on the adjustment layer. Sorry. And you erase, and boom, we have removed that. So it acts just like it would in Photoshop for the most part. And we can crop, we can do all that stuff very easily. Double click, and we have that stuff. Now, it also works with raw files. So when I take a raw file into here, it's going to go into what's called the develop persona. Affinity has different personas: liquify, the develop, the tone map, and then the export persona. And those are just Affinity Photo's way to kind of separate the editing process that a lot of photographers go to, so we don't get the convoluted, tools and menus that we sometimes see in Photoshop, which could be a giant beast. But it does a pretty good job when you're in the develop mode with a raw file. You can make some pretty good adjustments. We can go and be more specific about the color temperature. We can throw in the actual numbers in there. We can do the shadows and highlights. So if we needed shadow recovery, we can recover the shadows. And most of the basic edits are going to be there. Now, where Affinity Photo really falls apart is it lacks the batch functions of Lightroom and Adobe Camera Raw. So you can't take like 30 photos, 40, 100, and easily edit them and sync the settings and all that stuff that you can do in Lightroom. So for me personally, I think it's fine to work on a single photo in Affinity Photo, but if I'm working on a lot of photos, I use Lightroom. So that's where some advisors and students of high school journalism might be a little bit hesitant to use Affinity Photo instead of Photoshop. But I could see myself, there's a way you can do batch in Affinity. It's just not very easy and not very fun to do. And I could see myself, if we had to as a program, we could definitely use Affinity Photo. It would work, but I would miss the batch editing process. So that might have me looking for a batch editor beyond Lightroom, maybe Raw Therapy or Darktable, something free like that, if you have a program that's strapped for a little bit more money. So that's a quick little guide. No, not really a guide. It's a quick little taste of what Affinity Photo is like.